The envelope sat on Amy's kitchen counter for 3 days before she opened it, not because she forgot it was there, because she already knew the number inside would change everything. When she finally read it, the total at the bottom was $58,247. She had insurance. She had done everything right, and none of it had been enough. In this video, you're going to see exactly 2 paths, the one most people take when a bill like this arrives, and the one Amy took instead. Every decision, every phone call, every number. Stay until the end because the move that saved her the most money is the one almost no one knows to make. Amy was 41, a project manager at a logistics company in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, earning $68,000 a year. She was not reckless with money. She had a $3,500 emergency fund, no credit card debt, and health insurance through her employer, a standard high-deductible PPO that kept her monthly premiums manageable. It felt like enough protection. She had never had reason to believe otherwise. Until the Tuesday night in March when she drove herself to the emergency room, a ruptured appendix, complicated by infection, 6 days in the hospital, 2 procedures, and a recovery she had not planned for. When she was discharged, a nurse handed her a folder and said, without ceremony, "You'll receive paperwork in the mail." 3 weeks later, the paperwork arrived, $58,247. She called her older sister that night, someone who had dealt with a large hospital bill 2 years earlier after a car accident. "Just set up a payment plan," her sister told her. "That's honestly what you do. You call them, you ask for monthly payments, and you pay it down. There's no other way." Most of the people Amy reached out to said the same thing. According to the Kaiser Family Foundation's 2022 Healthcare Debt Survey, 41% of U.S. adults, roughly 100 million people, currently have some form of debt from medical or dental bills. Having insurance, it turns out, is not the same as being protected from it. Here is where the story splits. At this moment, 2 versions of Amy exist, the version most people become, and the version Amy actually became. Most people call the billing department, confirm they cannot pay the full balance, and agree to a monthly payment plan. They commit to $350 or $400 a month for years, grateful the hospital is working with them, without asking a single question about whether the number they are paying is actually correct. Amy called the billing department and said 4 words, "I need an itemized bill." The itemized bill took 11 days to arrive. It was 43 pages. Most people would have looked at 43 pages and put it back in the envelope. Amy sat at her kitchen table on a Saturday morning with a yellow highlighter and a legal pad. She went through every single line. It took 4 hours. She found 3 charges she couldn't account for. A $1,200 line item for a specialist consultation she had no record of meeting, a $340 charge for a medication her own pharmacy receipts showed she had brought from home, and an $890 charge under a billing code she couldn't identify. She did exactly what the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau recommends as a first step for anyone disputing a medical bill. She documented every discrepancy in writing before making a single phone call. Every charge, every date, every code, documentation before confrontation. That Saturday morning was the moment everything changed. Step 1. Request the itemized bill and audit every line. Most people receive a summary bill, 1 page, 1 number. They assume that is the complete record. Amy had learned, through a single phone call to the billing department, that a summary bill and an itemized bill are 2 entirely different documents. Every patient in the United States has the right to request a complete itemized statement of all charges from any hospital or provider. This is not a negotiation tactic. It is a federally recognized right. Under federal guidelines, hospitals participating in Medicare are required to provide patients with an itemized statement of charges upon request. Submit your request in writing. Keep a copy and note the date. This document is the foundation of every step that follows. Amy's review identified $2,430 in charges she could dispute using her own records. Step 2. Dispute billing errors in writing before negotiating the total. Most people call the billing department frustrated and argue about the number. Billing departments are trained to hold firm on the phone. They are not set up to resolve disputes verbally with distressed patients. Amy sent a formal written dispute for each of the 3 charges she had flagged, attaching her medical records, her pharmacy receipts, and a specific written explanation for each discrepancy. Everything went by certified mail. She retained copies of every page. Within 3 weeks, the hospital removed $2,100 from her balance. New total, $56,147. The CFPB recommends disputing medical bills in writing rather than by phone. A written dispute allows you to attach supporting evidence, creates a documented record, and provides proof the dispute was received. Always note the name, date, and reference number of any phone call as well. Laws vary by state. Always consult a licensed attorney in your state for guidance specific to your situation. Step 3. Apply for the hospital's financial assistance program before entering any payment plan. Most people don't know this program exists. Those who have heard of it assume it applies only to patients with no insurance coverage at all. Amy asked the billing department a direct question. Does this hospital have a financial assistance or charity care program? It did. Most nonprofit hospitals in the United States are required by the IRS to offer financial assistance programs as a condition of their tax-exempt status. These are not emergency handouts. They are structured, income-based programs, part of every qualifying hospital's public obligation, and they are available to insured patients who still face significant hardship after insurance has paid its portion. Amy submitted the application. Her income and household size qualified her for a 30% reduction under the hospital's own published policy. No negotiation, no argument. Just a form she hadn't known existed. New balance, $39,303. Under Section 501R of the Internal Revenue Code, nonprofit hospitals must maintain written financial assistance policies and make them publicly available. Eligibility income thresholds vary. Many institutions use 200% to 400% of the federal poverty level as the qualifying limit. Always ask for the financial assistance application before agreeing to any payment plan. Step 4. Offer a lump sum settlement on the remaining balance. Most people who reach this point accept a payment plan on whatever remains. Payment plans feel manageable and responsible. They are also, consistently, the most expensive way to resolve a medical account over time, particularly when the hospital attaches a financing rate. Amy made a different call. She contacted billing and offered $22,000 as a lump sum settlement in exchange for full discharge of the account. She stated, calmly and specifically, that this was the maximum she could access within 30 days without liquidating retirement savings. The hospital countered at $27,500. Amy asked for 48 hours. She called back and accepted $25,800. Nonprofit hospital systems frequently have internal authority to accept a significant discount on outstanding balances when a patient offers immediate, full payment, and the alternative is a multi-year collections process. This is not widely advertised. It is widely practiced. Most people who enter a standard hospital payment plan on a $58,000 balance at a 6% financing rate, which many systems charge, will pay close to $68,000 over 5 years once interest is included. Amy paid $25,800, one payment, full settlement. It was over. She spent the next 14 months rebuilding her emergency fund, methodically, 1 month at a time. She did not touch her 401k. Her credit score, which had dipped during the dispute period, recovered fully within 8 months of the final payment. According to the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, medical bills represent the largest single category of debt and collections in the United States, with an estimated $88 billion in medical debt appearing on Americans' credit reports at the time of their analysis. Most of those people never questioned the original number on the bill. The difference between Amy's outcome and what happens to most people who receive a bill like this is not income. It is not connections. It is not knowing the system from the inside. It is the willingness to ask a question that feels almost presumptuous, that feels like you are challenging someone who knows more than you do. Is this number actually correct? In Amy's case, the answer was not entirely, and that question, that one uncomfortable question, was worth $32,447. Have you ever received a medical bill that felt impossible and paid it without ever questioning whether the number was right? Leave your answer in the comments below. This community is full of people who have been in exactly that place, and your story might be the thing that gives someone else the courage to make that first call. If this video helped you today, share it with someone who is dealing with medical debt right now. It might be the most useful thing they see all week. Subscribe to the channel to be the first to receive more videos like this.